3, 4.
We just live right now, man. It's going down, excited for the season. You know, we coming off a playoff win. I mean, you know, we had a couple wins.
Hello and welcome to Deer Diaries, a Milwaukee Bucks podcast presented by us, the staff at Brewhoop. My name is Van Fias. I'm the managing editor of Brewhoop. I'm stepping into the hosting chair today for Kyle Carr and also Jackson and Jack, who are all unavailable today. But we have our two latest guests on our yearly season preview series, and I'm glad that they both could, make room in their schedule today to join me. You have heard them, well, on this podcast before, because they came on last year for our preview series, but also you hear them daily on the Locked On Bucks podcast, which is the only daily podcast on the Bucks, which you can find Apple, Spotify, on YouTube, wherever you get fine podcasts like Locked On Bucks and Deer Diaries. So the two hosts are with us. We have first from WTMJ, or I'm sorry, the Bucks Radio Network. We just talked about which one do I say? And I got it wrong already, but we're in too deep to start the recording. So Justin Garcia, he's also he hosts the pregame, the postgame, the halftime show, and he's the analyst at home games. Did I got that all right?
Yes, you do.
Okay, cool. And then joining us also is his co-host from Locked On Bucks. You can hear her also on the Locked On NBA podcast. Is that a daily podcast as well? I forget.
It is also a daily podcast. I'm on the game night edition of it.
Oh, okay. So you're on there every day too.
Not every day, once a week,
okay.
maybe twice if I'm subbing. We ain't going crazy now.
Well, yes, that's another place you'll hear. You'll also hear her on the the Technical Foul podcast, which she's been doing for a long time, and the inaugural episode coming out tomorrow of Ahead of the Pack, which is Packers podcast. I imagine there's a lot of listeners interested in the Packers too. So Camille Davis is with us. How are you doing, Camille?
I'm doing fantastic. Like, football is a day away. This is like one of the best times of the year. The mosquitoes are going to be dying soon. I'm in a good mood.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't gotten, surprisingly, any bites this summer.
Lucky you.
I don't know. It must be my blood type or something.
Yeah.
What are you? I've been getting tore up all summer.
What what your blood type is? Are you is it O positive?
A positive, I think.
Oh, really? That's
something
mine.
like that.
That's mine too.
What is the most common? Is that O positive?
I think so.
Or O negative? I don't even. Whatever the most common is what I am.
I was talking about this with my mom because my mom gets totally eaten up every summer, and I went camping with them a few weeks ago, got nothing, and she's spraying the DEET on her all the time, and we always there was some study at one point that the blood type was something they like, but I'm A positive too, so I don't know, Camille. You're just sweeter, I guess.
Let's not take that to the bank, 'cause I don't remember. I think I'm A positive, but
to the blood bank
probably will listen and be like, "That's absolutely incorrect."
Man, I hope my doctor's not listening to this podcast. I mean, or has listened to this podcast before and seen me having too many adult beverages after.
Does your doctor know you do this? That he listens to the show?
No.
I was going to say.
It's not coming up.
Mine does.
Really?
I don't think he listens to any of the work that I do, but he definitely knows what I do because he'll have the small talk with me every 2 times a year. I see him or once a year.
Okay. Yeah, my doctor does the same thing, but my husband's doctor, he actually was like, "No, I listen." He came out, and when he saw me, he was like, "That's you're married to her?" I listen to her every day. And I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool."
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe you can work that into I don't know, better copay or something like that.
Well, and just to fully devolve now at this point. So I realized by seeing it, my doctor goes to the same gym that I do, but I haven't approached him. So part of it is see, look, I told you I'm working on this, but also there's the etiquette too of is this 2 separate lives? With teachers, I get out of the classroom, I don't know you. Is this leave me alone? So I've just kind of let him be.
Like a therapist, I know you have to, you can't approach one of your clients in public
unless
or
it's
acknowledge
agreed
them
upon.
unless
Yeah.
they approach or acknowledge you, then you can talk to them. Yeah, I don't know how it's working. I don't know if there's anything in the Hippocratic Oath about that, but anyway, I have no segue, but let's get into the meat of the podcast where we're talking about the Bucks' upcoming season. If this is your first time listening to our season previews, I think this is, let's see, the fourth one we've had. We've had a number of people actually from Brew Hoop, like we had Morgan and Jackson and Finn and Drew the last couple of weeks, and we kicked it off with Marcus and Chris Johnson, but we're asking the same questions to everybody. So the first one, maybe, the most intriguing one, and like the first and the last thing we might see of the Bucks this year. Hopefully the last one is the last thing we see of the Bucks this year. We are going to, well, I'm not going to, but you two are going to pick your starting lineup on opening night and your closing lineup in a playoff game. And you can say what you think is going to happen as well, but you can also say what I think it should be more about what you want to happen. So I have a feeling Doc is not going to do anything that maybe we want or recommend. So why don't you take it away, Camille?
Okay, so my starting lineup for the Milwaukee Bucks for the upcoming season would be Kevin Porter Jr., Gary Trent Jr., AJ Green, Giannis, and Miles Turner. I'm not going to mess with that trio of guys that we saw work really well with Giannis last year. Like, let's not get too cute about the situation. Let's go ahead, roll them out there with Giannis, with Miles Turner, and see what we can do. Closing in the playoff game, that one was kind of an interesting exercise to go through because it's hard to say just one because it depends on the opponent. Like, is this a situation where the Bucks are going to go small? So it's maybe something crazy like Giannis is your 5, but he's surrounded by the 3 guys I previously mentioned, Kevin Porter Jr., Gary Trent Jr., AJ Green, maybe like a Ryan Rollins. Or is it a situation where you actually need a little bit more size too, where instead of Ryan Rollins, you go with a Bobby Portis, which was that 5-man grouping you saw last year have some success. Or maybe it is just Miles Turner. Maybe it's that exact same lineup. Like, you look at Miles Turner's height and his weight, like him and Bobby are actually pretty comparable. And Miles Turner still can be a little slight of foot there. So maybe you go that route. Like, it depends on what's needed, but I wanted to throw out the 4 smalls with Giannis because I would just be really curious to see what that looks like in a small burst. The rebounding for that probably would not be sufficient enough down the stretch in the playoff game. But again, just something different when you're thinking about what you actually might need down the stretch.
So no Thanasis.
Nah, not this time around.
Okay.
Not this time around.
All right. Just making sure. Justin.
Ryan Rollins, Cole Anthony, Amir Coffey. No, I would.
I was like, is this the starting lineup? I'm talking about the opening night of the regular season as well, not the preseason.
I would go with the same that Camille had for the start, for both, for starters and close. The 5 that started, more often than not, that's the default closing group in my mind. I think, as Camille pointed out, depending on the matchup, like if you want to go with Giannis at the 5, I have a strong preference for Ryan Rollins, but I think it makes more sense to start him than to close because of the shot creation component, and that's not really Ryan Rollins' game. So I'll be boring and say I would pick the same as Camille with those guys of KPJ, Gary Trent Jr., AJ Green, and then Giannis and Miles Turner. And I would say by default, more often than not, that's who I would have closing. And I do think that's probably who they're gonna go with too. I mean, I think the only change would be if everyone's favorite player was playing the small forward in the starting lineup, but I just honestly don't think they're going to do that given what they saw last year in those last few games, and even Doc changing the starting lineup in the playoffs.
It's totally cool that you both have the same answers to this, because like I would as well, but I think there's still a lot of intrigue in this. I want to just come back to Ryan Rollins at some point. Maybe we'll talk about him later, but because I have a question that I asked Marcus and Chris that I want to ask both of you. But Camille, to your point about like Bobby Portis versus Miles Turner in that closing lineup, especially, I was looking at some lineup data recently. Now, the lineup of KPJ, Gary Trent, AJ Green, Giannis, and Bobby Portis towards the end of the year that we saw a lot. Pretty crazy. NBA.com had them at plus 51.2. That's the best lineup they had who played at least 20 minutes on the team. But there was only 42 minutes, so small sample size alert. And against Indy, I know it wasn't quite as effective, but I didn't think it was. I thought it had just broken even, but it was plus 6.3, so still pretty good. Now, okay, that's with Portis. Wanted to see, get an idea of like, well, okay, maybe like how did that lineup work with Brook Lopez? Who, by the way, I'm repping Brook Lopez today. That was just top of the pile. But anyway, for those watching on YouTube, that was an even smaller sample size. The four guys, Porter, Trent, Green, Lopez. I'm sorry, Giannis with Lopez, 17 minutes, but plus 75.8. So, and actually, I thought it was interesting if they took out in that lineup, if they took out Green and replaced him with Taurean Prince, they were also like plus 6.3. These are just some things I noticed that had me thinking, okay, maybe Turner can work with this group, even in closing time, but also like in the playoffs, especially in the NBA Finals. Turner wasn't in there closing some of those games. And in the past, even when Brook Lopez was at the height of his powers, he wasn't closing every playoff game. Kind of depended on the matchup. Do you think it would be a matchup thing versus Portis, like for Portis versus Turner, or would you stick with Turner, just like give him the closing 5 job kind of by default?
I think for me, I think it would be situational. Like you said, during the finals last year, you did see situations where Miles Turner just was not part of that final equation for the Pacers down the stretch. And that could be the case in certain matchups for the Bucks as well. Like I mentioned, their size is similar. Bobby Portis is listed at 6'10", 250. Miles Turner is listed at 6'11", 250. So like size for size, pretty similar there. But it's like, well, what do you get differently from a Bobby Portis than you get from a Miles Turner in this situation? And I think one thing that you could count on at least early, which doesn't help when you're thinking about playoff closing lineups, is just the fact that Giannis and Bobby do have chemistry already. Like that's already established chemistry. You're trying to hit the ground running. You don't want to have to think too much through it. Like you got that to count on. But on the same side, like Miles Turner gives you a bit more rim protection. He gives you a little bit more defense there. Bobby surprised me with his ability to move his feet down the stretch there at the end of last season. And throughout the season, actually, when he wasn't tasked with playing drop coverage and more so just being a big on the perimeter. So, like, I think I would still give the Bobby that edge over Miles Turner. But, like, I would just look at it like in this particular game, who's hot, who got the matchup, what just kind of like a feel thing. I don't think it's something that you would look at on paper and say, every single time it's going to be Turner over Portis. I think it is situational to a degree.
Do you think, Justin, do you have some thoughts on that too?
No, I mean, I agree. I don't think it's necessarily going to be every single time, but the benefit of a younger big and Miles Turner is they're not going to be in quite as many of those situations where it's this guy's unplayable in these spots and he's going to struggle to stay in front of guys. Like we've talked about it a lot. It's not that Miles Turner is like a Jericho Sims type of athlete, but he's not quite as much of stuck in cement as Brook Lopez. So I think you're going to be able to play him in most every closing situation. And I think that's what we're going to see for the most part. I think the big thing is I'm really curious to see what his mid-range game will open up for some of the other guys and for Giannis especially. And I think the big thing that bodes well in his favor too is kind of similar to Brook Lopez in the 3-point volume. That it's one thing that, we've talked about guys that need to take more threes. I think Bobby Portis is probably in that camp too, that he's averaged like 3.5 a game the last few years. Miles Turner was close to 6, I think, last year. Like, you're going to need at least 6 attempts per game from Miles Turner again, but I think you'd love to see Bobby Portis taking at least 5 a game.
This really dovetails in the next topic we want to move on to, and maybe we'll just since we're talking about Miles Turner, I think there's a lot of like assumption going on, maybe not as much by Bucks fans, but probably more casual fans or just outsiders. That's like, okay, he's just going to sort of approximate or just be the same as Brook Lopez was, like the same kind of role he's going to fill. And like you were saying, Justin, I mean, he has this mid-range game, and maybe this opens up some things for Giannis. He can still space the floor, but like, how would you have with Miles Turner on the floor? How would you have this group of players, like whoever his lineup, the other four guys along with him out there? How would you have them play on both ends of the floor? Like, especially on defense, you're gonna be running to the drop. I mean, are we playing 5 out on the other end?
Fast. That's the word I go to when I thought about this question, and fast was the first word that came to mind. Like, let's keep in mind that Miles Turner is coming from a Pacers team that, as we know, just love to run teams out of the gym. So he is used to the play style of getting up and down on the court. That's not going to be new from him. And I do think he gives you a lot of what Brook Lopez did give you, which means that what Miles Turner also gives you is flexibility. Like, you could play drop with Miles Turner, but you don't have to only play drop with Miles Turner on the floor. And I think that's the benefit of him defensively, just being able to use him in a few different ways, a little bit more on the perimeter. Again, he's not like a lockdown guy on the perimeter, but he's not going to be stuck in mud out there either. So that's a benefit offensively. You have a guy there who can fill that Brook Lopez role in really well, where he can be a trailer, knock down those threes. He can also give you a bit of shot creation. Like, he's comfortable taking dribble, step back threes. He's comfortable getting into the mid-range. The only area offensively that Brook Lopez had the edge on him was just the finishing around the rim. Brook is a little bit more consistent, a little bit higher efficiency around the rim than what Miles Turner gives you. But he's going to shoot some of the same shots you saw Brook do, allow you to play 5 out. But also, I think that the chemistry, the quicker he can develop that chemistry with Giannis, so they can unlock some things too, like, will we be seeing Giannis, Miles Turner pick and rolls on the court, and what would that look like, and how does that open up things for other teams too? But you can play different ways with Miles Turner, which I think ultimately is the benefit of having a Miles Turner, the younger center, that gives you a lot of what you had before, but also gives you options to do things a little bit differently if wanted.
Real quick, Miles Turner, and as you probably know, Miles Turner and Tyrese Halliburton, that was, I think, by a lot of metrics, the best pick and roll combo, like the big small, with Tyrese as the ball handler and Turner as the roller, of course, the best combo in the NBA. What do you think? Who do you think his best running mate is going to be on the team? Is it going to be Giannis? What about KPJ or maybe even Cole Anthony? Like, what do you think would be the most effective 2-man option they have with Turner?
It's going to be interesting because, like, one of the most effective ones last season was like Brook and Dame. And when you had those two going, it was like, okay, we know we're going to get something here. And trying to think of like a big small combo, like, I do wonder what it looks like with, Kevin Porter Jr. being that small that's running the pick and roll with Miles Turner. So, like, that's a good question to think about, like, what 2-man pairings can the Bucks try to lean on? Because there's a lot of guys that are kind of quote unquote unproven on a national landscape of like being put in these bigger roles and how can they contribute on a consistent level. But I would think, especially guys with shot creation who can read the pick and roll, like, we know Doc has talked about Porter Jr. needing to kind of continue developing those point guard skills. So he's someone who comes to mind first for me.
Yeah, I would. I certainly am intrigued to see the Miles Turner and Giannis 2-man game. I think it's not even a downside, but the only thing to keep in mind with that is it means Miles Turner has to fade, because you're not going to have him roll into the rim and then Giannis doing it as well. When you got the guards, he can do either of them. And I think that's really the thing that I'm most interested in watching this year is I think we would all agree Brook Lopez is a better down on the block and near the rim offensive player than Miles Turner is. Miles Turner's a better mid-range shooter, and statistically, Miles Turner has been a better three-point shooter the past few years. But Miles Turner is also more willing to attack mismatches, which is something like this team just hasn't really done. I mean, in this era of Bucks basketball, like buds play random and we play this certain way thing is always kind of stuck with this team, that they don't hunt mismatches. They play their offense. So not to say I expect to see it a lot, but that is one of the added features of having a guy like Miles Turner, that he's not afraid to do that. If you give him a smaller guy, he's going to go at him and put the ball on the floor and attack him.
So it's a bit more versatile certainly on defense. That's something I think a lot of fans have been wanting for years, but also on offense too. Like with like you said, like him attacking closeouts a bit more rather than just putting it up like Brook Lopez would. So with him, you're talking about like in the Giannis 2-man game, like him having to, not roll. He has to pop or fade. I mean, what would you prefer? Okay, what would you prefer in that situation? Either of you, like Giannis, he's the ball handler in both in this situation, we'll assume, and he cuts to the rim. But do you prefer like a roll to the dunker spot with him, or popping out, or something else?
My first instinct is generally popping out, just because of how much attention Giannis will draw from the roll every single time. So I feel like you can do a roll, like you can do that. But I just think with Giannis's gravity, more often than not, you're going to want Miles Turner to pop.
Yeah, I'm interested. I think that's what we're going to see a majority of the time. But especially the way they've crafted this and what we saw with, the extremely small sample size that we've all referenced and John Horst mentioned as well, and his belief in it. With that group, you can station 2 shooters in the corners. You can have another guy that is a shooter, or at least somebody that can create, in the case of Kevin Porter Jr. So if you get Giannis attacking, you're going to have shooters or defenders that are going to be tasked with staying home on guys in the corner or above the break. Given Giannis's passing ability, that will open things up in the dunker spot then for Miles Turner. So I'm interested in seeing what they do there. I think the big win in all of this is we don't have to talk ourselves into Giannis and Dame pick and rolls anymore, and Giannis doesn't have to worry about getting critiqued for his screen setting.
Right. That was always the problem with it. Like, it was a good combo statistically, but yeah, the visually it didn't always match up with that in terms of the screening. Thinking about it, like having Turner roll, like it seems like, especially against maybe smaller teams or smaller lineups, like it's a good way for easy points to get on the board, with 2 bigs. And a lot of teams are, of course, going to the 2 big setup now. OKC proved you can win a title with it, but this goes back a little bit to talking about the closing.
It also helps lineup to have the best player on the team,
right?
Achilles, but yeah,
that's true. That's true. But it got them there regardless.
It got him 60+ wins and in the best metrics in the league. So yeah, nobody's disputing that.
Yeah, it seems to work. So you see that a bit in the East too. And yeah, like I said, back to the closing lineup point. Like, okay, it's the playoffs. Let's say the Bucks, are in with any of these teams I'm going to mention, it'd be like they won their first round series, which is far from a given, as we know. But let's say they're playing. All right, there are 3 teams I'm going to mention. Do you have, like, think about the closing lineups that these teams are going to likely trot out there? Like, maybe they might be going small, but these are pretty big teams. Cleveland, New York, and Orlando. Is Turner your guy? And let's say it's a clutch situation against any of those teams. Is Turner your guy against whatever lineup they have out there?
I think
he is for me.
Yeah. So I think the only one, like, I think Cleveland, like, if they don't have Jarrett Allen out there, or maybe like if Orlando is using Banchero as like their 5 instead of Wendell Carter. But even with Wendell Carter out there, I could see maybe like the Portis lineup still working. Certainly
I think Orlando is
the Turner.
Yeah, Orlando's the only one of those 3 I could kind of talk myself into. I mean, we saw Miles Turner and Pascal Siakam, who is a B version of Giannis defensively, hold up more than well enough in the second round series last year.
Yeah. What about if they're playing the Bulls in the playoffs? I'm just kidding.
I was gonna say, wait, what? What are we talking about?
What are they going to do with Vooch and Matas Buzelis? Or
well, I mean, what if they're playing the Celtics after Jason Tatum has come back probably in December with his miraculous recovery, and then you got to contend with Luka Garza
or Chris Boucher or Nemias Queta? Am I saying his name right? I don't know if I've ever really heard his name say, but anyway, speaking of big men and hopefully, ones who are the best, players on their team not being injured. Giannis's stat line this year: points per game, assists per game, rebounds per game, stocks per game, and his usage rate. I think to me the most interesting ones are assists and usage rate, because we're kind of used to seeing him the last couple of years now. He's like 30-point a game guy, and he's averaging like 11, 12 rebounds or whatever it is. But the usage rate declined a little bit with Dame in town, and now he's gone. Like, is it going to go back to MVP era Giannis? Is he going to set a career high in assists? What do you think, Justin?
All right. So I was going to pose a question to each of you guys, but I think the big question is the two statistical categories to me are points and assists. One of those two, I would have to assume, is going to be a career high this year. So which one of the two is more likely? Do we see Giannis average what the 31 plus was his career high a couple of years ago? So do we see Giannis average 32 points per game? Or do we see Giannis finish with what was his high last year, right? 6.5 assists. So, so we'll even bump it up. What do we think is more likely? 32 points per game or 8 assists per game for Giannis? I would say the 8 assists number. I think he's gonna score a little more. He'll probably just be around 31. But I think the assists are going to be close to 8. I think those are going to jump up. I think the rebounding is going to be the interesting one to keep an eye on too, because he has consistently been at around 11.5, and really early on in the Brook Lopez years, it was 13 or more. As anybody that has followed the Pacers will be quick to point out, that is not a strength of Miles Turner, and especially creating those rebounding opportunities like Brook Lopez did. So I wonder if we see even Giannis Giannis had only like 10.4 rebounds per game, somewhere like that. But the points and assists are the really interesting ones to me.
I think we were talking about on Locked On last time I was on there how, Turner not known for his rebounding, and probably not going to get more than maybe 5 or 6 per game. But like the Bucks with Brook Lopez, the Pacers did tend to rebound the ball a lot better when Turner was on the floor. So I'm hopeful that we won't see a real downgrade there. But I actually think it's more likely he sets the career high in like 32 points as opposed to 8 assists. If he said 7 assists, I might think that, because that'd be half an assist higher than what he normally is. But so do you 32 a game, 8 assists a game? How about so rebounds? You think he might slip to around like 10 or 11? And how about the usage?
So what has he been for rebounds the last few years? Like
He's been
11.9 last year, 11.5 the year before that, 11.8, 11.6, 11.
All right, I'll say an even 11 for him in the rebounds numbers. Usage, I suppose we should preface with, which usage rate are you going by? Which of the many services are you using here?
I typically just use Basketball References usage rate.
That was what, like 35 last year?
Last year he was 35.2, 33 in the first year of Dame, but going back to his second MVP year, 38.8, well, 35, 37.5, 32.5, 34.5, 38.8 before Dame showed up.
I'll say like a 36, 36 and a half for usage.
So a little increase.
Yeah.
Camille, what about you?
So I didn't look at it as an either or. I think it's going to be another monster year for Giannis. I think he gets 32 points per game. I think he does get a career high in the points, which pushes up like an extra point from what he hit, 2-3 years ago. I said 7.5 assists. I think he sets a career high in assists this year as well. Could see being as high as 8, but I went with like that 7.5 of just bumping it up by 1 assist from what we saw last year, even though down the stretch without Dame, we saw him put up some really crazy stat lines, but just trying to figure out how consistent that's going to be. So I'm going with 7.5 to be on the little safe side, but I can see him definitely hitting 8, going 11.5 rebounds for him. I was curious to see what his rebounding was the year after the championship, when Brook Lopez was out for most of it and Giannis had to play a lot of 5 and what that was. But here's Giannis still giving you 11 some rebounds. So that feels consistent even with Miles.
Well, he had Sandro Mamukelashvili creating those opportunities for him.
And DeMarcus Cousins. He had Luke Cornett for like 1 minute,
Not enough minutes for Giannis. I know
Monroe came back too. Moose was
Serge Ibaka.
Yeah,
the rotating wheel of centers that year, and he still gave you 11. So I'm comfortable with that. And then for the stocks, I'm thinking 2.3. Like that one was I kind of paused for the stocks because I was like, Giannis giving you around 2 for like that feels comfortable to say. It did dip below that in the 2022-23 season when he had 1.6 stocks per game, but outside of that, he's giving you at least 2. So I think he'll still be in that framework. And as we continue talking, I think a pathway for this Bucks team forward is defense. So I do think that the stocks will be there for him. Usage rate went with 35.5. The one I saw for last regular season was 34.6, and it bumped up a little bit in the playoffs to 35.2. We know a couple of those games had a little Dame sprinkled in it. But ultimately, I think for the season, like 35.5 is probably where I'd put him.
So pretty similar role from Giannis is what I'm hearing. And the stocks were interesting to me because they were a bit lower than I kind of had anticipated. Looking back, he was in the first couple years of Bud, and also, the first year of Bud and also the last couple of years of Kid and the Prunty little dalliance they had, he was getting you 3 to 3.5. But of course he became a defensive player of the year candidate, after he's, averaging fewer of them. So this is not it has no real impact on what his defensive impact on his impact, for lack of a better expression. But yeah, I think, I guess the question is, now that Turner is involved, which is, he's a similar, going to be relied on to do similar defensive things as Brook Lopez did. And Giannis has faced a little bit of criticism from some over the last couple years with just maybe a little bit of a lack of hustle in the regular season on defense. Do you see that maybe do you see him focusing in a little bit more noticeably on it, trying to make an all defensive team again? It's been 3 years since he's done that. Maybe that gives him a little boost in the stocks, he can, or especially blocks, because he'll be able to do the weak side thing more. Is that just wishful thinking?
I mean, there's certainly a pathway to it. I don't think it'll I think the Bucks have to be a top 3 defense at this point for Giannis to get added to that level again. I'm just, the interesting thing about it is you have a more mobile version of Brook Lopez now. He could get back to that super helper role last year. Especially when you cleaned up a lot of the liabilities that you had on the defensive end of the floor. But to me, the interesting thing is I do think they're going to play a lot of drop. It's just what Miles Turner is used to. And I think it's what Giannis is used to as well, playing next to Brook Lopez. But I think you're going to hold up better in the front court there. And again, your defense you've cleaned up a lot, and now you get a full season with these guys, and specifically guys like Kevin Porter Jr. and Gary Trent Jr. love to gamble. So there's a real boom or bust opportunity for this defense here. And by bust, I mean, I don't think if they finish lower than like 12th, 13th defensively with everything that you have started to clean up and take away, then it's like, what's going on here? But I think there's some massive upside potential with the gambling ability of those guys and the fact that you have a more mobile big behind you to clean up if something goes wrong there. So I think their defense will be good. I just don't think Giannis is going to be placed back in that conversation. Like, it would take a really special year for this team, to me, for Giannis to be put in that category again, right or wrong, or fairly or unfairly.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we saw, was it last offseason going into it, where Giannis was kind of like, I'm tired of people disrespecting my, like the social media post of like, I'm getting ready.
Yeah.
We know that's in him. Like, of course he
Yeah.
wants it. He wants another MVP. He wants defensive play. He wants the hardware, but he doesn't. That's not what he's going for, because he does understand, like, we haven't been out the first round of the playoffs in 4 years. Like, it's been disappointing over the last 4 of just not getting where you want to go, really, since you've won that championship. So for this Bucks team, it's like, okay, let's take stock. Like, for Giannis, what's more important, being defensive player of the year or getting out the first round, getting to the conference finals? Like, he understands that him playing well is the avenue to the Bucks winning. And if he does what he needs to do, the awards will come along the way. So I don't think it's a main focus of his, but I would imagine that Giannis is sick and tired of being already back at home by, the middle of May. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's more of a driving force than the actual hardware itself. Like, let's get the wins. If I do what I need to do, everything else will take care of itself.
Well, and real quick too, I mean, I think part of it too is we have to keep in mind there's a lot that is going to fall on his shoulders. So it's kind of like what we have witnessed from LeBron. Like, can you ask Giannis to be the all-world defensive type of player again, knowing like, hey, this entire offense, it runs through you and it rests on you?
Yeah, I don't know if we've seen Giannis really in this role at any point in his career. Just because even when he had like a little bit lower usage guys next to him, like
well, I think we're currently seeing it in Eurobasket.
Oh, well, sure, yeah, I guess in the NBA,
at the NBA level, no,
sure, yeah, on the Greek team, yes, you're right. So, it's gonna be interesting to see if that shows up really on the stat sheet, because it might not.
And like, as we move on from Giannis too, your question about the stat line, it's not as simple as, well, everything's going to be the same because of the big change of Brook Lopez out, Miles Turner in. Mm-hmm. But if we look at those games that we keep pointing to and hanging our head on last year to close the season, Giannis's averages were basically like 32 points per game. Yeah, 11 assists, 12 rebounds, and his stocks were, I believe, 2 per game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so maybe he becomes the 4th player ever, and the 2nd Buck ever to the triple-double in rebounds. Although the Big O, he wasn't doing that. He was doing that on the Cincinnati Royals, so not quite right. But I think that's maybe that's a little bit far-fetched of a bet. But speaking of bets that are, well, seemed kind of far-fetched, but maybe not anymore, which of like the Bucks I don't want to hear like Miles Turner here, but like their role players or their young players, the non-stars or even starters on the team, maybe who's the longest odds among these to take a leap next year? Define leap however you want, but we talk about it like from a player going into their 3rd year, or just like Giannis going from like a coach, a system to another. But who do you think is most likely on the team to at least level up, be it like role player to legit starter, and a bench guy? I know who you're going to say, Justin, to role player.
I can't in good conscience say that.
No Chris Livingston plugs?
It's not all right. So that ticks one off. Who is it then? If it's not that, Justin.
I mean, I think it's Kevin Porter Jr., and I think that he has to be the guy for this to work. You can make a case for AJ Green too. When we did our survey on Locked On Bucks, it surprised me how much of a majority of the audience feels like Gary Trent Jr. is going to be the second leading scorer on the team, and he certainly can be. I think the quote unquote jump that we would see from Gary Trent Jr. Wouldn't be quite as significant as what we need to see from Kevin Porter Jr. for this team to be good, right? That I think he's the guy that has the most upside potential on this team when we talk about who's going to be that second guy and who's going to create things. It has to be him. So we've seen a decent amount of good with him. We've seen some of the bad as well. There's going to be more of the same this season, but I think he's the guy that we will point to and say he made the biggest leap. Mm-hmm. How big of a leap that is will ultimately determine how far this team goes.
You think that can be like, I guess right now, let's
say like fringe.
Okay.
All-star, not quite all-star, but like just in the neighborhood and just a level below.
Yeah. So sort of like what maybe we saw from Jennings or even Brandon Knight in some of those years, like just right outside that conversation, like statistically.
Yeah, Brandon Knight.
I was thinking like Nate Walters or
Nader's going Nate.
Well, yeah, because he's like now, I mean, would you say like he's right now just like a really good role player, Kevin Porter? Or do you think he's like a legit starter in the league?
I mean, I think we believe he is at least a really good role player. I don't know if we can say he's a really good role player. Like in terms of his track record, we haven't seen it consistently. We have in Milwaukee for a small sample size, but outside of that, we haven't. So I think that's another big reason why there's a lot of skepticism around this team is there's just not a whole lot of belief in Kevin Porter Jr.
Yeah, I look at the numbers like from LA, which he played about 300 more minutes. I'm sorry. Yeah, it was 300 more minutes. And like the shooting percentages couldn't be more like diametrically opposed. So are we over indexing? Are we looking at the like 100th percentile of him and thinking that can be like the Bucks starting point guard next year? I mean, I think he's better than that 45 game stretch in LA, but yeah, I just worry that maybe like, yeah, like it's, I think best case scenario, it's like you're seeing sort of what he was doing in Houston, but on a winning team. Anyway, is it KPJ for you, Camille?
It is not. I will say I think that Kevin Porter Jr. is the most like boomer bust guy on the roster, and this is a Bucks roster with quite a few guys who they're counting on to make a leap. Like that's the whole thing with going in on the younger players. You're expecting the development to continue. So for me, thinking about the question of like, which player on this team do I think can make a leap that is going to affect the team in a more positive way than they were able to do last year? And I landed on Ryan Rollins on this one, a chance to talk about Ryan Rollins because one, there's room and opportunity for him to do so on the team this year. And he's also in a better spot health-wise because he did play most of last season with the injury. With his shoulder, I believe that it was. So like playing through injury throughout the year because he knew last season he had a chance at an opportunity at playing time that he did not have before. So I think that he's someone who could see getting, like 20 minutes per game off the bench for the Bucks this upcoming season. Last year, he played in 56 games, 19 starts, averaged a little bit over 6 points, almost 2 assists, almost 2 rebounds, and about one stock per game. 14.6 minutes per game for Ryan Rollins putting up those numbers. And he shot just under 41% from 3 on about 2 attempts per game. Again, all with the bad shoulder. Like the baseline isn't bad. What was a little bit bad was when he got into the playoffs. He only played 3 of the games in the playoff series, and he only got real playing time in that first game where he did not look good. But I remember last year as well in the playoffs, AJ Green's first time shining in the playoffs and chance to play in the playoffs was not good for AJ Green either against the Pacers. And last year, I wanted to know How will he bounce back from that experience? He started training camp slow, but then he picked it up. Ryan Rollins, how do you bounce back from that playoff performance? Again, limited opportunity for sure, but also in a situation now where you know you have a bigger opportunity, you have a role, you have a skill set that can be really useful next to Giannis as that combo guard, knock down your shots, play that defense. Like if Ryan Rollins can become the comp that I think it was John Horst laid out for him of like, he can be George Hill. Like if he can, like if that's where you're looking at it and you get a George Hill type of season from Ryan Rollins, it changes a lot for this Bucks team.
And like earlier Bucks tenure, George Hill. Yeah. I'm glad he brought up Rollins because I teased this earlier. While I think that the George Hill comp is like well made, and I think there are a lot of similarities in their games. One thing I'm wondering, and I asked Chris and Marcus about, is do you think that, or how close is Rollins, to the type of perimeter stopper, like point of attack defender that the Bucks have needed since like Javon Carter, Drew Holiday were on the team? Do you think he's close to that? Do you think he can be that at all?
That high of a level defender, like a Drew Holiday level, that's
how about just Javon Carter? Just
Javon Carter. I think
he's already there.
Yeah,
he's already there. Okay, good.
I think so.
Yeah, because Javon Carter, like think about how he would have helped the Bucks over the last couple of years. At least the player that we saw in his last full season with the Bucks. Yeah, like not the player we've seen in Chicago. So okay. I didn't mean to like compare him to Drew Holiday. It's like, oh yeah, can he be that kind of guy? But more just like that perimeter stopper.
What it does for the rest of your defense.
Yeah. Like I mean, Davion Mitchell is a guy I see like that. Even Pat Bev earlier in his career. You think he's on that level right now?
Right now, not necessarily, but I think that he's shown flashes during last season where you're like, man, if you can do this on a consistent level, like that Toronto game stands out when he had, I believe it was 5 steals in the one game. And it's just like, man, the wingspan is crazy. He's active. He's actually a little bit stronger than you would think by looking at his frame. So like he gives you a lot at the point of attack. And on top of that too, on offense, like we haven't seen it a lot because the ball's not in his hands as much, but like Doc has said, like he's not afraid to take a shot. And you would see that at times too, where he's not afraid to drive to the basket, put pressure on the defense. He'll shoot the shot when he feels he has the window to do so. Like, yeah, I think that he has the potential for it for sure. I don't think he's at that level yet, but defensively, I think he can get there.
If he's already at Javon Carter level, that's good enough for me. I think that's just a hole that needs to be filled. And yeah, I think first time playoff jitters, definitely a thing for him. Also, your guy Justin, Kevin Porter Jr., which the AJ Green comp, like just seeing him really struggle to find nylon in the 2024 series against Indiana, and then just being such a key player in this most recent edition of that rivalry. I guess maybe that just gives me some hope that like, all right, the like assistants or just people around the team are getting guys prepared for their first or their second playoff appearances like a lot better than maybe their first. So moving on, keeping on the subject of KPJ and adding a name that I have not said yet, I've not uttered yet in this podcast. We referenced him the one time, but I would like each of you to rank these 4 players in terms of their importance to the Bucks this year. Kevin Porter Jr., Gary Trent Jr., AJ Green, and Kyle Kuzma. Order them 1 through 4. Justin, you think is KPJ number 1 for you?
Yeah. Kevin Porter Jr. is 1. Kyle Kuzma is number 2 for me. And then I would say Trent and Green in that order, but I think they're pretty close. We already talked about why I think Kevin Porter Jr. is number 1 for them, but the Kyle Kuzma part of it is if you can find something that works offensively, we know defense is there in what he gives you with 1 through 4 with those assignments. I mean, number one, to help you out on the floor, but the more that you restore his value, it also gives you a huge boost in the offseason when it becomes an expiring contract. And you also have some other assets to throw in there. So it becomes a good problem to have if you kind of restore Kyle Kuzma this season and he gives you, what you anticipated to see on both ends of the floor. Because I think we saw what you expected. Most Bucks fans, his defense, I would say, exceeded what you expected to see. But if you can get the offense he doesn't have to be the second leading scorer, but just not a disaster, that does a lot for this team.
You're not the first one to have said on this edition or on this iteration of the season preview that Kyle Kuzma is the second or maybe even the most important guy on this list. I wouldn't put him there necessarily. I'm curious to see where you have him, Camille.
Yeah, for me, he's actually last on my list, but it's with a caveat. It's a caveat to it. He's last because if he's not in the rotation for this team, with what they have, I think they can still find success. So that's why I put him last. But to that, I say, if he has a bounce back year, he changes like the prospects of this team in ways that the other three guys on this list, I don't think can, which is such a wild juxtaposition to be in of like, yeah, buddy, you were benched in the playoffs. So it is what it is. Like they can figure out a way to play without you, but also if you were able to be efficient on offense, finish around the rim, knock down, catch and shoot threes, be quick with your decision making, cut down on silly shots, and then play good defense, be a connector piece, like a 6'9", 6'10" guy who can give you all that. When you have a Giannis, you have Miles Turner, you can do some really, really interesting lineups if you have a guy with his size, with a skill set that's actually being I don't know the best way to say it, but if he has a bounce back year is what I'll say. Like he changes the perspectives of this team, I think. So he's last on my list, but with the caveat of like, if he is a great player, it changes things. But number one, I actually went with Gary Trent Jr. Because we kind of naturally, I think, saw hierarchy develop in the playoffs. And you saw Gary Trent Jr. be like, well, shoot, I have no problem being this guy right now. I have no problem creating my shots. I have no problem taking the shot. I'm going to get down on defense. I'm going to be like, he'll do it all. So I think for me, I think he's most important because also we have the track record of Toronto. We know what he can do. We know the fierceness he has. He's going to be very important as a secondary shot creator next to Giannis, I think. Kevin Porter Jr. is second for me. It's very close between him and Gary Trent Jr., but I put Kevin second. But again, I think he's the biggest boom or bust guy because of what you saw with the Clippers and then what you saw with the Bucks. I have AJ Green at third, which based on how I've talked about AJ Green this offseason might surprise some people, but I think he's very important, but I rank him behind Gary and Kevin because of the shot creation. The fact that those two can give you that, I just put them above AJ Green, but need a lot from him this season too.
I think the floor for Kevin Porter is probably the lowest out of this quartet, but the ceiling, yeah, definitely the highest. And I kind of agree with you about Trent. I mean, he was, I want to say maybe the third leading scorer on the Raptors one year, like when they still had Fred VanVleet and Siakam, of course. So like, I don't think he's necessarily going to average 20 points a game, but
right.
in that year I'm talking about, I think he averaged around 18. And yeah, someone's going to need this score for this team. But you two talked about this recently on Locked On Bucks. I think it was just yesterday, actually. Just how AJ Green has gone, I think, about a month now, being extension eligible. And at this point, because his extension, like if he signed it tomorrow, he would have a 6-month no trade clause, so he wouldn't be able to be moved this year. And I was thinking, okay, if the Bucks don't get this done early in August when he's eligible, that just makes me think, okay, they're they're keeping the options open there. And like you were saying, he's the only, well, maybe not the only, but the best, I think, player asset they have in terms of a young player on a affordable contract. But his extension eligibility changes a bit if he goes to another team. I forget exactly how. So, okay. Do you think here? Here's a funny way of putting it. Over under on AJ Green's on the Bucks at the deadline, 0.5.
So if I go with the 1, he's on the team.
Yes. That means there's one AJ Green on the team.
Listen, I understand it now. I hear you. I get you. I'm going with the 1. I think AJ Green is a member of the Milwaukee Bucks after the trade deadline.
Did Georgia AJ Green play basketball? No, I would go.
I was thinking about him too. Like, should I make it 1.5?
I would go with a 1 as well. When we've talked about it too, you try to stress like, look,
yeah, I don't want it to happen either. No.
Yeah, like we're not saying trade AJ Green or they should trade him, but I wouldn't even say it's perplexing, but just the fact that it's gone this long without an extension, and that, you know, John Horst specifically said, yeah, we've already had the conversations with him and we want him here, was the interesting part about it to me, of like, oh, why hasn't this happened yet if that's the case? But I do think they'll ultimately extend him. I mean, for where this team is, and do either of you guys think AJ Green's ceiling is an all-star in this league?
I wouldn't go that high, but I would go like a quality starting 2 guard in the league.
Yeah.
Like someone who
do you think his ceiling is higher than Kevin Porter Jr.?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing we have to keep in mind. Like, yes, I like AJ Green. He is a good player. He is underrated defensively. He's a terrific shooter. He's probably a really good role player. And if there's something that comes along that makes you better, you can't immediately dismiss it. And this is the last chip that they have left to play other than those draft picks. So I don't know how much of it is that versus how much of it is just standard negotiation. I do think it gets worked out and he's here, but I wouldn't be shocked if something else happens.
Yeah, I would be pretty surprised if he were not opening the team or not opening the season with the team. That would be a shocker.
So you're saying you think he's open to considering other options?
That's right. Unless he has an older brother that they can give maybe.
Well, his dad was a coach, so maybe we got an opening with Joe
like
Prunty
a Rick
moving
Brunson
on
kind of thing. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I think there are names out there who, you know, I don't know who's available necessarily, who I would put AJ Green in an offer for such a player, but it's not a very long list. I'll just say that. But yeah, I think interesting to think about. All right, so we've talked a lot about individual players. In fact, I think that's everything we've talked about. Now let's talk about the team as we go into some kind of quicker hit questions. What is their greatest weakness and their greatest strength? I guess you can do it in either order.
Greatest weakness and greatest strength. I think the greatest weakness of this Bucks team as currently constructed, you can go a couple different routes. Lack of proven secondary shot creation, secondary playmaking, something to bring up. And the one I keep landing on is just having more size on the wing. Again, I love when they throw out Kevin Porter Jr., AJ Green, Gary Trent Jr. We saw how effective that lineup could be. But when you are playing a team like, let's say, if Boston was healthy and you do have a situation where you have those big wing players you need to defend, the Bucks just don't have a lot of size to throw out there unless you're throwing Taurean Prince out there at them, a Kyle Kuzma, a Chris Livingston, a Thanasis Antetokounmpo. Like, those are your options unless Andre Jackson Jr. also finds himself on this team somehow, some way, come the season starting. But like for me, that's a weakness of having the size on the wing. That's like playable size on the wing at that, because we saw again, Taurean Prince didn't make it through the playoffs. Kyle Kuzma didn't make it through the playoffs. So the Bucks had to kind of go small just off of who was available to them and was effective to use. So wing size is a weakness that I've been talking about. So I'll land on that one. And string, I would say just the shooting ability that this team does possess. We saw them lead the league last year in 3-point percentage. That's something they can continue to do. And now if you're playing a 5-out style with Giannis in that point role, like the way that this offense can generate 3-point looks, like I think that can be a strength for them, and it's going to need to be. They can't be, I think it was 15th in frequency of 3-point attempts last season. Like we need those to go up too. But ultimately, like I think that the 5-out style with point Giannis is going to be a great strength for them.
I mean, I'll cheat and just say the biggest strength is Giannis on the team. But if we looked at it positionally, it's the depth that they have at big now and how all of those pieces kind of fit together, that suddenly gone are the days of like, well, we just got 3 bigs and one leaves, another comes in. We're keeping 2 of these guys on the floor at all time, and we hope to God there's no injury. You got guys that can play different ways. So I think their front court is the strength. Bigs in the front court, and then the weakness is to me one of 2 things. Camille already mentioned one of them, well, both, but I'll stick with the bigger perimeter defender. And who can that guy be? You feel good about Gary Trent Jr. and AJ Green holding up at least defensively, and it does also help when you see. I don't really know who that guy is on Cleveland, if they have one, where you look at it and say, well, who's going to hold up with this guy? Like Donovan Mitchell, you have to defend and worry about, but in terms of his size, that's not the concern. I mean, if you're really, really high on DeAndre Hunter, then maybe. Jason Tatum, that injury changes things, where it takes one of those 2 off the floor and it takes their bigger one of those 2 off the floor. Even like the Knicks with Bridges
and Anunoby,
can have some games, right? But I don't go into a series and say we absolutely have to shut down Mikal Bridges, and how are we going to do this? But still, it is a concern that when you look at the roster, you say, well, who is it, right? It's if Amir Coffey somehow makes the team, is that the guy, right?
You haven't mentioned your boy yet. Like, could it be Chris Livingston?
I mean, maybe. But yeah, I don't know who that is. And, in terms of like creator, there's other guys that we've seen take some of it in small sample sizes where you can look at the roster and at least say, I don't know that the options are great, but maybe they develop into good enough. I don't think you even have that for who is the bigger perimeter defender on the roster.
Yeah, well, Jay Crowder still available. On there on the market, just.
Well, the Kings didn't re-up him. Wow,
sitting by his phone in full gear. Just waiting for the phone to ring. Back to the 3-point volume conversation, because I think this might be something. This might be an answer for you as well, Camille, to another question. Mm-hmm. Per game, the Bucks were 18th in attempts, and that's also where they were, in total for the season. But really the same if we average it out over 100 possessions. So there's really no, there's no other way to slice it, and then that they were a below average team in terms of attempts last year. But obviously they led the league in percentage. So yeah, I think we all want to see that go up. So maybe for you, Camille, is that something you hope to see the Bucks, over all other things that they could try out this year? Is that something you would hope to see them do? Because the question is here, like, it's a long season, and what kind of things you want the Bucks to be doing, not just to be successful, but to just make it more engaging, entertaining for you.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking initially coming in. I'm just like, I want to see the Bucks shoot the leather off the ball. Like, I want to see y'all putting up 3-point attempts like crazy. There's no Dame, so you're losing like 9 attempts a game right there from Dame alone. You're losing someone who shot like 38% from 3, so you're losing a lot. And watching teams make it rain from 3 when they're hot, especially a team like the Bucks who has proven shooters, it's fun to watch that. And what I hope to see from this season is fun. Like, I don't want another 2-8 start. I want a fast start. I want fun. But I think ultimately for me, like, what I really, really would hope to see is something that we haven't seen in Milwaukee in, God, I don't even know how long, but let me see a team that can force some turnovers. Let me see a defense that can cause some havoc. Can this group be connected enough on defense where you look at the parts and you're like, well, we don't really know a lot of these names mainstream, but like collectively, they are strong. Like, I was listening back to an older episode of Technical File. I was looking for some Kawhi Leonard stuff after everything that dropped today, and stumbled upon a podcast from December of 2019, which is when he initially was going there. And we were talking about the Bucks, and that was that Bucks team that was really rolling before COVID shut everything down. And we were saying, it's a Bucks team with no real weak links. Like, everyone's playing defense. They're moving the ball. It just looks good. Like, the names ain't flashy, but they are going to work. And that's what I would love to see from this Bucks season too, where it's a group of guys who are really putting the effort in on that side of the ball. It was mentioned how we got some gamblers on this team, which might put you in bad positions, but also, man, maybe we get more transition offense out of it because you're able to force more turnovers. Like, for me, the defense would be the really, really fun part of the season if the Bucks can be a top 10, ideally top 5 defense.
I don't know about those early Bud teams. Like, they weren't big turnover teams, but I mean, it just had me thinking back to the first year of Kid. That was, the
gimmick defense.
Yeah, right. The comparison I always liked is, from my predecessor Mitchell Mauer. That was a defense that was trying to be a Ferrari, but just needed to be a Toyota Camry. But still, they were second in the league in turnovers forced per 100 possessions, but first in raw turnovers and turnover percentage. So yeah, I wasn't expecting to hear that, Camille, but I would enjoy seeing that too. I mean, winning the possession battle was such a like, there was so much strife involved in that last year. Like, it seemed like every night, because they weren't a good offensive rebounding team and they weren't forcing many turnovers at all. Like, they just couldn't get up enough shots to win some games. But Justin, how about you? What's the personal point of interest that you want to see during the regular season to make the 82 games worthwhile?
I mean, it's really just how they're going to be different is the most intriguing part to me, because it's like you've been using the same computer for years and now you're finally like, whoa, this is different. Like, wow, look at the graphics on this thing. And just seeing that type of approach of, I expect them to be more up-tempo offensively, defensively. Are they going to gamble more? And just seeing the growth of the young guys, like seeing a different pace of play is one thing, but I really think the other part of it is the growth of young players that, we've talked about. You can still count him as young, but players like Kevin Porter Jr., how big of a leap can he make? Gary Trent Jr. still young, right? What's the ceiling for him? And guys like Ryan Rollins, who we've all talked up quite a bit to see the George Hill comps thrown out, like, can he exceed that?
Okay, I'm still surprised that Justin. How many times have you said Chris Livingston on this podcast? That wasn't even one of the young guys that you mentioned.
You gotta keep people on their toes. Like, yeah, you can't just be the Chris Livingston guy.
You're only that on the other podcast, I guess. So, all right, here is another fill in the blank. In order for the Bucks to win a title, they must. Anyone.
I mean, retain Giannis first and
I know that's
foremost. But if we're
Have him
talking
be on
about
the team through the trade deadline, God.
if we're talking about this season, I know Camille and I are aligned. I wonder if you're in the same boat where I think I know what to expect as at least the baseline for the defense. Offensively, I'm still not sure. And the last 2 years, it has consistently not been good enough. We can talk about the first 43 games of 2 years ago and the level of competition they were going against, and schedule's a totally different animal there. But the offense was just not good enough. It certainly wasn't last year. And regardless of how good their defense is, if they finish in the middle of the pack, or God forbid, worse offensively, they are not going to be anywhere near a championship caliber team. I mean, it's going to take a lot of work to get there anyway, but they're nowhere near good enough if that's where the offense falls in. And there's certainly a lot of question marks with some of those guys offensively. So for them to shock the world and be at least in the conversation for a contending team, it has to be a really good offense. And I think the way to do that, we talked about a lot, is you got to take a lot of threes.
Yeah.
Seems like a fit over volume type thing, like in terms of raw scoring volume too. Sorry, Camille, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I agree with, I think for Milwaukee to win a title, you're looking at a team that's like top 10 defense, top 10 offense. And I think it might even need to be like a top 5 defense for them to really be like, hey, this team can win an NBA title this year. Top 10 in both, I think, gets you into the conversation. But like, if you have a top 5 defense too, and you can lean on that, that's going to go a really, really long way, especially if you have a top 10 or offense to go along with it. The 3 volume is up. Like, it's going to be a perfect storm. Giannis is going to have to be healthy. Of course, that goes without saying. Guys are going to have to knock down shots. The defense has to be there. The transition has to be there. They have to be able to end possessions by getting those rebounds. Like, everything is going to have to align, but and those guys we talked about earlier of like needing to make a leap, they're going to have to make those leaps. Like, they're going to have to produce. So if you get all of those things coming together in a perfect storm, like, yeah, the Bucks can have that title.
To your point, Justin, and talking about where this offense and this defense can rank, I mean, I think it's certainly more likely that there'll be a top 10 defense versus a top 10 offense. Yeah. They were just outside both last year, but I think that the offense, might have, it depends where you look, but it may have finished a little bit higher than the defense just based on like where it was at the end of the season. But I don't think I'm struggling to see a path for this current, like the current roster
to be a top 10 offense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like without a trade.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, like, if this is something that's been rolling around in my head the last certainly few days, and also early in the offseason. Is there an Eric Bledsoe out there early, or even like in the first, let's say, not necessarily, what was it, like after the 3rd game that the Bucks acquired him in 2017, but like the 10th, just yeah, or something like maybe he only played 3 games for Phoenix, but is there someone like that who becomes available, or putting it another way, is there like an impact player, and I'm open to your suggestions. Do you think who this might be, who is basically what people are hoping Giannis will be? Like, the team started slow, this is a mess for whatever reason, so-and-so requests a trade. Do you see, or even someone like Pascal Siakam, where it's just like the team's going down the tubes, like,
OG
and get in there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyone like that out there? Do you think? I'm struggling to think of anybody, because we have to predict it at this point. Like, we don't know necessarily how these teams are going to look sometimes.
Camille, do you have anyone?
I mean, it's been some of the same, like just going to New Orleans. Looking at some guys on that roster down there. Herb has been one of those ones for me for a while of like, man, if you can get a Herb Jones somehow like that.
I'm pretty sure he can't be traded though.
Right. I know where it's like now it's a situation like
With
maybe
the
it's
extension.
so for me, I'm sure there are names like that you can definitely lean on, but I've been such a Herb Jones person. Like that's who I've been focused in on so long. Trey Murphy could be an option too, though, if you're looking just down in New Orleans.
That's the guy I've been talking about for a while, but
those are good players, very good players. Are they good enough to move the needle offensively?
That's the question. Trey has shown some things last year.
I think Murphy could be.
Yeah.
Herb,
I'm not as confident on that.
I struggle with that a little bit.
I suppose there's potentially one interesting scenario, but I'm not even clear on how it works in the CBA. The restricted free agents.
I was thinking about them. Yep.
If they sign a qualifying offer, are they trade eligible at this point?
That I'm not sure about. I have a feeling the answer is no. And we just don't see anyone sign a qualifying offer. But okay, if it's Kuminga or Thomas,
and to be clear, I'm not really a Kuminga guy. I don't think that helps you out enough offensively, but that is the name that's going to come up the most, especially since he seems most willing of anyone to just say, well, screw it. I'm signing the qualifying offer and I'm going to be a free agent next year. Cam Thomas, I suppose, would fit what you're looking for more in that regard. But you've got more than enough of these smaller two guards that
don't want more of those.
Yeah, even then, it's not, super helpful. I suppose you could start to maybe circle the corpse of the Clippers if the Kawhi Leonard.
That's what I'm thinking.
Punished.
Is there a team that's just going to get off to just a really bad start for whatever reason? Maybe that's the reason.
I think people are assuming it is this team that we're talking about.
Yeah, well, that's true. So, how about restricted free agents? Here's one more name. Josh Giddey. No, it's not Josh Giddey. He's also someone who is a restricted free agent. There are 4 out there who are still unsigned. Quentin Grimes. It would be really tough to do. It would like to facilitate this via trade. But I've long had interest in him. He in 28 games, 25 starts with Philly, 21.9 points per game. It had a little bit of that Michael Bridges in Brooklyn kind of vibe to it. But
do you think he's markedly better than Gary Trent Jr.?
Yeah, I wouldn't have said that prior to this. Like I would have always just prior to the 28 games in Philly just said, okay, he's not much younger for one. He's I think only I don't know if he's even a year younger than Gary Trent. But seeing him in Philly, and he had some rough years after. Well, I guess it was just the 1 year. His second year or third year when he split between Detroit and New York. I just see a higher ceiling for him now all of a sudden than maybe
after what he did last year for Philly in the situation that he had. I can see why
in the situation
you're looking at him a little bit
somebody's got to score.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, someone's got to score for the Bucks when Giannis is off the floor. So yeah, he's just a name I wanted to throw out there, but yeah, I'm still just looking at who's going to be that team who just doesn't get off to a good start, and it's not the Bucks, Memphis maybe.
Yeah, so the teams I keep coming back to, Memphis was one of them. I don't really see.
There's not a Ja is the guy, but
that doesn't pair with Giannis.
Not too well, no.
Phoenix is another interesting one because of what we've heard from Matt Ishbia this offseason. Has kind of been a pretty hard detour from what they've been saying the past few years of let's just build a culture here and get better. Seems to be a recognition of we're going to suck. So let's just get some assets and try to fix what we have here. But all these teams you go through, I don't know. I don't see something that fits. Another interesting one, which has pieces that fit. And this may be the play that we have not mentioned. Seems like there's a decent opportunity for things to go south in Sacramento.
I knew you were going to say that. That's
And
another.
they have somebody that can certainly score, and I believe in terms of his contract, it matches up with something you have on your team that you could trade and create. Does that make sense for your team, though? And that's where I shade towards no.
Yeah, I don't think it does as much. Assuming you're talking about DeRozan here.
Yeah, DeRozan, because Levine is
even Malik Monk, that they've gone back and forth on some of that. But again, then you're getting a smaller guard,
it's going to be hard for them to get. It's going to be hard for them to get Levine, and he's the main guy I'd be interested in, I would say. But yeah, well, okay, we got a little sidetracked there, but I that was a fun convo. Here's the last rapid fire. Predict the Bucks finish in the East and how far they go in the playoffs as far as rounds.
Fourth in the East, at least the second round. I'm gonna give them second round. I can see things breaking from to get to the conference finals, but I'm gonna put my floor at the second round there.
I'd be happy with it. It's been a few years, right? Yeah.
At the risk of copying everything you said, I'll say fifth in the East and second round. I mean, there are scenarios where this team could finish as high as third. If everything goes their way, if the offense shows what we said it needs to show, we feel pretty comfortable in the defense. You look around the East and you say, I mean, who's the juggernaut, right? Cleveland. I'm curious how Cleveland approaches the regular season after what happened last year and what happened in the postseason. You tend to see those types of teams the next year or a couple of years after just say, well, let's just make the playoffs in a good position and play for the postseason. Orlando strikes me as the team that's we're going for it. And they could be last year's Cleveland of like, holy cow, look at the Magic's record 50 games into the season. I'm really curious to see what happens with the Knicks and a Mike Brown movement offense with that group and just everything else that I think we kind of picked apart with the Knicks last year. So there are, those teams I would say for all of them, there are certainly fewer questions than there are with the Bucks. But just as we're saying, well, I think if things break right for the Bucks, there's scenarios where I could talk me into this. With those teams, like if things don't go this way, there's scenarios where they could slide a few spots back. And the Pistons too are one that could jump in there potentially into the top three, depending on what they do on both ends. So I'll say they finish fifth and they win their first round matchup. You know what? Let's just get nuts. I will say they reach the conference finals.
Come on,
win in the conference finals.
I'm kind of my early prediction just for how the East will play out, and this is not being workshopped yet. I think this is the year Cleveland makes it out of there. And yeah, I could see like if the bracket breaks the way I kind of have in mind.
Do you have them as one seed?
Well, no, I wasn't thinking that. And then they'd be on the other side of the bracket. I'm thinking right now, like they're the 2 seed or maybe the 3 seed even, but then it just becomes like if the Bucks could get past like the Knicks in round one. So, but I don't know. There's something about Cleveland where I'm like, okay, maybe now this is the year they figure it out. There's a little bit of, totally. I mean, there's a little bit of I see a little bit of like the 2021 Bucks in there who, of course, like, that's the highest ceiling you can get, but it was like that was the team that came into the playoffs really needing to prove something. Well,
it depends on who you ask, because some would say it's a fake title, so it's not really that high of a ceiling. But,
I think it's at least it was in front of road fans and there was travel involved. So you won't ever get the argument from me. Well, all right, we have reached now the ever popular miscellaneous segment of the podcast. And last year when you two came on, as we do for all of our participants, whether they be contributors at Brew Hoop or guests like you, we give you a recurring, we hope it's a recurring segment, and it's going to recur this year, and it was entitled by you two and Riley last year, Riley Feldman, Camille and Justin's Simulation Station, because
called it that. Okay.
that's I had to go back and listen to the pod from last year. Like, okay, what was their miscellaneous segment? I got to find out. And it's like, okay, like that's how it was. You know, that's
that
how
can
the story
take on some different meanings.
Right. So let's talk about why it's called that.
Please,
both of you are big fans of professional wrestling, something I know nothing about,
which is not simulated. It's combat sports. So let's show it the respect it deserves.
Okay. And then something that is a simulation, video games, specifically NBA 2K. So, all right. And explain this to me like I'm, I guess, like a third grader who doesn't know what professional wrestling is, because I was that third grader. I was that third grader. I didn't know what it was because I didn't have cable. But
maybe I was just the bigger dork than I imagined.
I just remember in fourth grade people starting to like be interested in it. I think that's when maybe, was it on UPN or something back?
It sure was.
SmackDown was. We didn't get UPN in Madison until probably like around the latter. It was the last year or two of the 90s. So that's
exactly when SmackDown started.
There we go. Yeah. There we go. I was watching Star Trek Voyager on there, but that's another story. So okay, a storyline. Explain it to me like I'm that 8-year-old. A storyline that is going on, it's concluding in professional wrestling that you're interested in or following closely. Either of you.
I'll say this because you say you don't watch wrestling at all. My mom does not either.
Okay.
Boy, I know where this is going.
She recently she tuned in to the beginning of the PLE that just happened this past weekend, Clash in Paris, because
what's the PLE?
It's like a pay-per-view premium live event.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So she tuned in to the first match, and I just heard the story of what was happening. Like, hey, this guy keeps getting jumped and they keep stealing his shoes. And he's trying to get his respect back. So she got so into it. Like, she had food delivered during the middle of the match. Like, shenanigans happened afterwards. She got food. She was hurrying the delivery man, like, hurry up, give me my food. I got to get back to wrestling. And then she was like, I'm getting too close to this. I need to go back to watching something else because this is too entertaining. So I will start by saying this. Like, I think people look at professional wrestling in the wrong way of like, it's fake. It's like, it's not fake. It's predetermined. It's scripted like a television show to a degree, but like, you can't fake taking certain bumps. You can't fake what you're putting your body through. It's entertainment. Like, it's truly a scripted show to a certain degree because they do freestyle a bit within it, but like, it's a show where they actually fight. And that's the fun part about it. It's entertaining. You'll laugh. You'll be pulled in. And right now, the storyline that has my attention the most is with this wrestler named Seth Rollins. He has like this evil faction that he's the head of, and his wife is also a wrestler. And she also has a belt. He has a belt. She has a belt. They've been separate and apart. They're both bad guys. She recently helped him at that premium live event I just mentioned, retain his title. And now they're beefing with this other guy whose wife used to wrestle. So now I'm curious to see if CM Punk calls his wife up, AJ Lee, of like, hey, we got to get some get back because Seth Rollins and his wife, Becky Lynch, keep messing with me. So that's the storyline right now that I'm just kind of like, do we finally see AJ Lee return to the company after being gone for, God, she's been gone for a very long time.
Yeah, as long as her husband was. Longer at this point because she didn't come back.
Years? Like 10.
Yeah, the thing is,
these two you're talking, this couple, this
the couple is
WWE
Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. Yes,
yeah, I'm looking them up right now.
And Seth Rollins is a Bears fan too, so
okay. Well,
he is,
how does it feel about
and he's gonna make reoccurring hits on NFL Network throughout the season. Mm-hmm. When we were asked this question last year, there was a lot more to choose from because it was in a much better spot. I will at least pay attention. I don't keep up with AEW as much as WWE. But it does feel like we're seeing the shift again where they're starting to pick up some momentum and the WWE is starting to slip a little bit back to where it was before their big changes and the era of Vince McMahon. It would probably be the same that Camille just mentioned, just to see. I love CM Punk, and then to see if it's all but confirmed, but if his wife does make her return to the ring. I mean, really, the bigger thing I'm curious about is just outside of the ring and their move from Peacock to ESPN for their premium live events, and even the mention that some of it is going to be simulcast on cable and airing on ESPN now. So, like, what we start to see there, and what are the events, and what that does to their audience is really the big thing for me, because the storylines have kind of been flat for a couple months now.
Yeah.
So is AEW, is this sort of like is this almost as like a PGA and LIV tour kind of situation, or is it like the
WCW?
Yeah, is it like that?
I mean, it's exactly WCW and W, but yeah, there's some hints of the PGA and Live, because there is no love lost between the two sides.
Did WCW, what happened to them? Did they like merge, or
Vince McMahon bought them for less than he allegedly bribed the women he may or may not have had improprieties with.
This all sounds kind of interesting. Like, okay, this just popped in my head. Has there ever been, well, there have been movies about wrestling, but like, are there movies or maybe like a limited series that would just go into like some of these off, I guess, ring dramas, like you're talking about, like the Vince McMahon thing? Is there something?
There is a Vince McMahon series on Netflix that Bill Simmons did last year.
All right, yeah.
And Vince participated. I think there is still it wasn't a true hagiography, but they didn't go quite as hard as they could have. There's also a series called Dark Side of the Ring that there's there's no involvement from the WWE, and so they really rip off the Band-Aid on that.
And then I would also throw out also on Netflix, Unreal, if you want to just kind of get an idea of how the business works. Like, I've had friends who don't watch wrestling but enjoy good, like, just documentaries and just following along, and they enjoyed it. I think they did a really good job of explaining wrestling in a way for people who've never seen, to have no clue about what it is, of what they're doing. But you also get to know the wrestlers outside of the ring and like their characters. So I think that's a good one too.
Yeah, I didn't realize this. Vince McMahon's 80 years old.
Yes, he is.
That's kind of crazy. I guess that means
that's at least crazy about him.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, certainly that initial generation or two of professional wrestling with Hulk Hogan.
Physical appearance. There's the allegedly covering up a murder.
There are a lot of skeletons in those closets,
and they all come out. Dark Side of the Ring is when they really talk about all that stuff. Yeah.
All right, so maybe I should check that out. Yeah, I mean, I like a good docu series,
murder mystery.
Yeah, it combines like the itch that true crime will scratch, you know. And then we've got the sports element in there, and maybe just some other debaucherous stuff or crimes. But anyway, so now on to what I know we'll all agree is a simulation. NBA 2K is coming out when? It's like this weekend or something?
Technically Friday is the worldwide release.
Right.
But the early release was this past Friday.
Yeah. And okay, I have not played 2K. I have the copy of it. I think just off camera over here. I believe it was 2K5, the one with Ben Wallace on the cover. I almost said Ben Simmons. But I remember that was the Bucks team with Daniel Santiago and
my guy,
and Eric Strickland was on that team.
Another one of my guys.
Yeah, Van Horn was on the team too. But so it's been a long time for me with 2K. So you'll have to catch me up a little bit.
And that was back in like the East Coast, West Coast 2K versus EA Sports NBA Live days.
Sure, yeah. I had defected from NBA Live
I did
to
too.
2K, so did I. Yeah.
I did too.
I had the last NBA Live I think I had was the one with J Kidd on the cover.
03.
So yeah, 03.
Mhm.
So okay, now there are WNBA teams, WNBA players. Camille was telling me that you can have a My Team now where you team up with them. So all right, we'll preface it this way: like you can name any player of any gender, like, and who is your player comp that you would use to create yourself in 2K?
Okay, wait. Now that question is different than like what.
Yeah, like
create
who do
myself?
I realistically think I am, or who do I?
Well, yeah. Like if you, because okay, to peel back the curtain a little bit on this, Jackson Gross, who is our new beat writer for home games in Milwaukee, he this offseason has been doing a franchise simulation, whatever it's called now, like a dynasty mode or something, with all of us contributors at Brewhoop, because we've got about 12 of us. We can fill out like an active roster, where we are a basketball team. Like we are playing. We are an NBA basketball team. We have like logos and uniforms and everything, and we are each on it, each of us, and we're each our normal height, and like, but we're trying to just give us like the most honest and best approximation of what we would be like what if when we're in rec league, like this is the kind of player we are, like with the NBA equivalent. Like for example, I at this stage in my career and with my knees, I'm like a Kyle Korver, just like spot up in the corner guy, not really a movement guy at all. But I'm also one of the tallest guys on this Brewhoop team, so that makes me a late career Danilo Gallinari. So that's the kind of player comp I'm going for here for each of you. So be honest. Be honest.
Okay, let's be honest. Let's be completely honest here. My basketball career was very short. Very, very short. And if I had to give like a player comp of who I played, like it's probably like an Andre Robertson. Like the offense was no, but defense, I'm here for you. Like I'm using the arms, the length, we're moving the feet. I'm being annoying on defense. But offensively, I'm not going to give you much. Okay. It's just not in my ministry on the court. Now, my 2K player, my play style is more, my friends call me on 2K Camille Middleton, because I always make kind of like a wing that can play make, all around build, but lives in the mid range. Like that's my favorite style of basketball to play, is mid range shot creator. So my player plays like a prime Chris Middleton. But my real life comp would definitely be like Andre Roberson, like no offense.
So you start the game and you just like play maybe 6 minutes. You might start the second half too, and you're just in there for D. I like it. That's a type of player that's a little bit like face side of the game right now, but
I wouldn't make it in this NBA.
Yeah, well, neither would I. So okay, Justin, how about you now?
I mean, first of all, you went for Andre Roberson when Tony Snell was right there.
Tony Snell was right. Tony Snell not good though.
Bad rap, man.
Or Keith Bogans, even if you're going the starter route.
And Tony Snell was more versatile than Andre Roberson, I would say.
You get really into my player. You create and you just
huge into it.
I've never done it. I usually just go straight on doing a season, and I'll play a handful of games before I lose interest. I would say my who I would model myself after would be a mixture of two players. My playing days ended junior year of college in intramurals. But I was always the big on our teams. That I was either 4 or
Same.
5. Everybody that I grew up around that was playing at that level was 6 feet at the most, so wasn't a big deal.
I had a lot of short friends too. Yep.
Yeah. I fancied myself a ball handler, but I mostly did the dirty work and was a big that would try to stretch the floor. So I would be kind of this like hybrid in my mind of my favorite player in Charles Barkley or Khalid El Amin.
Whoa. Okay.
Who my comp actually would be
Khalid El Amin.
would probably be like Oliver Miller, honestly.
That's a name too. Man, Khalid El Amin. I don't remember him. 50 games
Those were the
on
days.
the Bulls in
For the day.
2000, 2001. Yeah. But okay, Oliver Miller. I gotta look up him.
Oh, you don't remember the Big O? Okay.
No, I mean I
Well,
remember him. but I got to refamiliarize myself with him.
Ate himself out of the league. Had a little bit of a spark with the Suns back in the day because he was a skilled big.
Yeah, I
And
see.
then those skills eroded when the waistline grew.
Yeah, 9.2 points, and okay, so he was on the Barkley Suns. That explains why you knew his game, but
Yeah.
3.5 assists for a center
bad.
back then. That's kind of crazy, actually.
He's a very, 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 very poor man's Arvydas Sabonis. Was like when it got
I thought you were gonna go there where you're talking like, I was a big, but I was a distributor too. I was just like, okay, so like
I don't know if you guys remember this name, Pau Gasol.
I mean, I was starting to think, I'm like, all right, so like I can't say like obviously I can't say Jokic. I can't say even Domantas Sabonis, like because I can't think of like a point center right now who is not like a star or like a high usage guy. And I mean, those are really the only two kind of point centers there are anymore.
I mean, really, the one that's right there for me, and I can't remember his name. He may even listen to this. But remember, it was already probably like 10 years ago. The big that UW Milwaukee had, Big Lumber, that kid. Like that's probably what I'm comping to.
We need Gabe Stoltz here to because this guy didn't make the league.
No, it was just a like Horizon League tournament run that he had.
Yeah. I'm Googling Big Lumber UW Milwaukee.
Yeah, I'm not getting it.
My first result is world's tallest timber building to break ground in Wisconsin. So we'll see if the quotes get us there either. Well, there's someone from SIU Edwardsville.
James Ayers.
Is that okay?
2009.
Yes, that's it. So he wow. Okay, so he ended up at okay. He did he transfer or am I just reading this wrong? He was on the Rob Jeter teams, yeah. Oh, I was just reading it wrong. So he's listed in this article. Like this article is called The Next Cool Nickname. I wonder if this is from ESPN the magazine because it's on ESPN.com.
It probably was.
Yeah, because
it's better than the article I'm looking at that's just big man on campus for the 310-pound big man.
I like this because it's just the picture is just like a giant like log, like a redwood tree or something that's been cut down, like a black and white old timey picture from some mill probably in like Minnesota. And the first two sentences, James Ayers doesn't look much like a basketball star. In fact, he looks like a 6'7" version of Jonah Hill from Superbad. So not a great way to start it off, but all right. That's your player comp. Where did he go to after his Panthers?
I don't know. Only lasted 2 years in Milwaukee.
Nothing overseas,
but it was magic. I tell you. I remember
that run was a special.
I remember watching it and just thinking, "There's something about this guy I connect with."
Yeah, that's that was for me when I was a kid. Like the guy who like, it's like, all right, yeah, I want to be so and so, I want to be T-Mac, I want to be Ray Allen, but it's like you have that connection with someone like this guy's game is actually more like mine. And maybe that was
when did you give up your NBA dream and realize I don't think I can do this?
It was my freshman year of high school for sure. Like
you lasted that long.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that was the NBA and college dreams were done then. I kept playing, but that was like, I knew my future wasn't going to be playing competitive basketball beyond the high school level. But
No,
yeah, guys,
you made it longer than you made it way longer. Like,
I mean, I wouldn't say I was. I mean, it's not like I was like logging heavy minutes for those teams or anything. So don't get me
by the
wrong.
time I got to high school, I knew that was not in my future, and I was like, "Hey, can I just manage the team so I can like be around the coaches?" Like, I was the manager for 3 years of the boys varsity team because I just wanted to be around basketball. So I was like, I can just be with the coaches, and like they're like, "Yeah, sure, get the balls," and I was like, "Cool," but also like tell me the plays. So I got a chance to kind of like continue my hoop education in high school without playing actual basketball, but I was done before I even got to like my middle school didn't have a team because it was so small.
Yeah.
And I was only hooping with like my cousins and my uncles and their friends. So like I was a tall girl, but when you're hooping with boys all the time, that not tall at all.
Because you're what, like you're about like you're like 5'8", 5'9" at least, right?
5'11".
5'11". Oh wow. Sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, 5'10". We'll go 5'10". 5'10".
Okay. Sorry about that.
Middle.
You were close. You was like, oh, Camille's a lot taller than she looks on that little screen.
The little screen. Yeah, when I stand up, it's like, oh my goodness.
Middle school. I think like every high school in my area at least did this, where it was like when you're in middle school, they had like summer camps and leagues where it was like the junior, whatever high school you went to that you worked out with their coaches. And it was basically like you get ready to play in high school. So I did that both summers in middle school, and 7th grade, the first year of doing it, we had like a scrimmage type thing at that camp at the end of the year. And they brought in some kids that were going to be going to Milwaukee Vincent to play us. Ooh. And it was in that scrimmage.
We had a thing with Vincent, my high school.
It was in that scrimmage where it was like, yeah, this ain't going to happen. I'm not anywhere near these guys. So maybe I can play baseball, or maybe I can be a golfer or something like that.
That exact same situation you're talking about happened to me with baseball at a Madison Mallards camp where I was having trouble with pickoffs. I remember specifically where they were teaching us like, look for this move. If you see it, go back to first base. And I'm the only kid out of like 20 who's just bolting the second base. I'm like, all right, can't be stealing bases anymore.
It was maybe a year after that when my baseball dreams were dashed when I was playing Legion ball in the summers, and some of the towns that we would play against were like areas that this was basically their high school team. So like out in Palmyra and like East Troy and those areas. And we played one year against some kid that was recruited by Miami. And I forget what his name was, but he went to Miami on a scholarship as a pitcher. And I'm like, all right, if this kid's going to Miami, like I can hit this kid. So I think I got a future. And I think that was the first time I ever saw a slider. And I was just like, what is this? And just stuck in cement, struck out on 3 pitches. The next time up, totally fooled me again. I remember the third time, I'm like, all right, I know what to look for here. I know when it's going to break. And it was just a straight fastball that drilled me right in the elbow. Where I'm like, I'm done. Like if this is the best, I am nowhere near this level.
Yeah, the greatest hits of my baseball career became like hit by pitches by the end, because that was the only way I was getting on base. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I always like catching up with you two, and getting to do it with both of you. I feel like it's been a while since we've all been on one together. Mm-hmm. But yeah, thanks for joining us. We will be back with more season preview pods in the coming weeks. Next week, We have Gail Klappa, who is the host of the
Courtside with the
Gail
Milwaukee
Klappa.
Bucks.
Yeah. Courtside with Gail Klappa podcast during the regular season, and he is one of the Bucks minority owners. He will be back on the pod. And then we also have some other guests towards the end of the month. We're going to have old friend Jim Paschke on. Lisa Byington will be joining us. And then the rest of the Brew Hoopers, including some new faces. Before I go, I want to just plug again, check out Locked On Bucks. It's the only daily podcast on Milwaukee Bucks.
Are you guys going to have Dave Kane on?
Ooh, I had Dave do a Q&A with us, like his first year with the team. But yeah, I should ask him. If he's got the time, that'd be fun. We also have coming on after Euros, and we have Harris Stavrow coming on.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, who is
Euro?
Yeah. He's gonna fill us in on what happened because I haven't watched any of them. But anyway, yes, Locked On Bucks, check it out every day. Locked On NBA, Technical Foul, and of course the Bucks radio network during the regular season and preseason, which starts in less than a month, or it's like less than 5 weeks. It starts on the 6th, I believe, is when it starts. So,
yes.
Did I forget anything? Oh, your podcast tomorrow for the Packers.
Oh yeah, if you want some Packers content, ahead of the pack on Cheesehead TV.
They play this week?
You said what?
Do they play this week?
Sunday.
No kidding.
Who do they
What a week to bring in generational talents like Micah Parsons and Thanasis days apart from each other.
I know, it's stealing the thunder, right? Stealing the Packers thunder with that Thanasis signing. All right, we are out of here. Thanks again to you two. We will talk to you next time on Dear Diaries.